know.
Well, what has your friendship with Alison and Rhonda, what have they shown you about not only finding footing in the industry, but also surviving the industry?
Well, they're probably two of the best examples of female musicians that have really had success, like on a large scale. You know, Alison certainly in this, you know, I don't want to say commercial, because she's not necessarily somebody you've heard on the radio a whole lot, aside from When You Say Nothing at All. But I mean, her success has just spanned so far beyond the bluegrass community. I mean, I can't think of hardly any musician from, you know, I mean, Robert Plant to, you know, Dolly to Yo-Yo Ma that loves her and respects her. It seems like everybody is a fan of what she does, you know, 'cause she's just got that kind of a voice and artistry about her. She's been a wonderful example of somebody that I feel like has never compromised the music that she makes. You know, you talk about fitting a mold. She's always stayed really true to what she felt it was she was meant to do, the kind of music she wanted to play, and she happened to be really successful doing that. You know, she happened to be super successful by following her heart. But, you know, I mean, I know she had loads of offers to, if she had really wanted to chase quote-unquote commercial success, she could have done that.
Yeah.
Like as easy as anybody, because Lord knows she had all the offers and opportunities in the world. But, you know, she stayed really true to what it is that she believes in. And I think in the long run, that's part of the reason she is so respected and loved across the board, because there's a pureness to what she does that not a lot of people have, you know, to that level. Somebody like Rhonda, I mean, is an extreme example of what a businesswoman looks like, you know, aside from her talent. And that's inspiring to me. You know, when I look around, she's certainly worked as hard as anybody that I can think of to earn a seat at the table, you know, as much as any man. And that's really exciting. And again, you know, when I think of bluegrass music, she plays bluegrass music. I mean, she plays what I think of as bluegrass music, you know, and has stayed true to that and proven that you can make a good living by doing that if you really work hard and have your head on straight and have the talent to back it up.
What separates bluegrass from other genres? What makes it so special of a type of music for you?
Well, I mean, it's a music that I fell in love with as a child, and you know, who knows? Maybe if I had grown up in the jazz community, or if I had grown up in some kind of other community that has, you know, a similar tradition, maybe, you know, I would say the same thing about it. But to me, it just feels like bluegrass, almost more than anything else, is just, it's this wonderful family type of environment that as a young person allows you to feel very inclusive, you know?
Yeah.
And I loved that so much, to be 8 or 9 years old and to be welcomed with open arms and encouraged to just join a jam session that was happening. You know, maybe I only knew 2 or 3 chords. At least that was my experience when I was growing up. And I had some local jam sessions that I would go to, and people just welcomed me in, tried to teach me things, you know, because it's a music that is built on, you know, oral traditions and people kind of passing things down. It's just, there's so much room for people to want to share, you know, and be generous with their time. And I'm so fortunate that so many of my heroes have always been generous with their time, you know, always taking time, even if it was nothing more than just having a picture made with me when I was a little kid. But so many of them took time to actually jam with me and play songs. And you know, I don't know, the access that you have to people, and maybe it's because it's not, you know, super popularized music, you know, that it is still relatively small in terms of, you know, popular music, that there's kind of a level of accessibility, maybe, to a lot of the musicians that make it. And I don't know, there is something special about that. I mean, obviously I would in terms of it being a popular music for the sake of everybody's careers and bank accounts and everything else. I mean, obviously, I would love to see everybody in the world love bluegrass music as much as I do.
Well,
but at the same time, it is kind of small. It is kind of, there is a specialness to it that it's kind of a niche thing, so to speak, you know?
Well, there's a quote I heard that everybody loves bluegrass music, they just don't know it yet.
Totally. I believe that too. I believe if they really got to experience it in the way that I have, and not just musically, but, you know, within the community too. I mean, how could you not fall in love with it? There's just something really electric and beautiful about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Why the mandolin? What was it about that instrument that you gravitated towards it?
You know, my dad had one and was learning to play, and I was probably 7 years old or so when he actually bought a mandolin and started learning to play. And my great uncle on my mom's side was our neighbor, so my uncle Junior was self-taught on mandolin and fiddle. So I remember hearing that, you know, hearing those two instruments, and then my dad played guitar when I was younger for my brother and I while we would sing in church. And I thought I wanted to play the fiddle, and then I got one for Christmas, and it was a full size, and I was kind of tiny. I was 8 years old, and because I couldn't really reach the notes with my arm being too short, my dad put a mandolin in my hand and said, well, why don't I show you a thing or two on this, and we'll get you a smaller fiddle, but in the meantime, they're tuned alike. Yeah. And so you'll at least know where to put your fingers when you get a smaller fiddle. And he showed me, I think, bull bed cabbage down was the first thing that I learned on the mandolin, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. Never became a fiddle player.
Well, I think there's
really
something.
Fell in love with it.
There's something so, at least from my opinion, there's something so whimsical about the mandolin where when you hear it, it's almost like time doesn't exist. I'm not trying to sound cheesy, but like it feels like it's one of those things that knows no century. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's whether people, like you said, you know, people just don't know it yet. Across the board, I still run into people that are like, what's a mandolin? You know, I'll check into, you know, a hotel or something, and they'll see my instrument. What's in the case? Or, you know, at the airport, what is that thing? Oh, it's a mandolin. What's that? You know, well, it's kind of like a guitar, too, like a violin. You know, it's like, you know, a lot of people still don't know what the mandolin is because it's not, you know, on a lot of, you know, pop records, so to speak. But, I mean, it sounds good. The mandolin, you can basically play any style of music on the mandolin, and it sounds good. I mean, it's such a percussive instrument, but it can be just this, you know, beautiful instrument with its expression to playing just, you know, the most sensitive thing you've ever heard to, you know, really being able to rock out, for lack of a better word.
Chop down trees with those notes.
Well, seriously, it's just, it has such a wide range of expression, and I love that about it.
Well, my final question is, even though you're still very young and you've already had a long and bountiful career thus far, what has a life creating and performing and traveling and meeting people around the world, what has that taught you about what it means to be a human being?
Oh, my gosh. You know, I grew up in a town of 100 people, no red light.
With how many people?
Very rural part of 900, like very tiny. Very tiny, and, you know, just everybody knows everybody, and it's a beautiful way to live and grow up, and I feel like that shaped a huge part of who I am as a person, and I'm so grateful for that. My parents still live there, so I still feel very connected to my hometown, but at the same time, you know, being able to play music has allowed me to really travel the world and just be able to meet people that grew up nothing like I did, that believe entirely different things than me. I mean, you know, and inevitably it ends up shaking your foundation as a human being to just be put outside of your comfort zone in a way that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful that I've been able to sort of grow and as a person, not only, you know, just in my worldview intellectually, so to speak, but at the same time, at the heart of it, I think I've learned, what it means to love people on a deeper level than I would have understood if I hadn't been able to say, go spend time in the Middle East, or go spend time in Micronesia or Japan, or some of the places that I've been that I never dreamed about going to.
Yeah.
It really does allow you to just see the world in a bigger way, which I feel like, maybe I would have never had the opportunity to do if I had never had a mandolin put in my hands.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for that.